hope everything's okay in here. Got that on. Yeah, I'll keep that one there. Save. Hello, Wazzle. How are you guys doing? Oh, we have a lot of people suddenly jumping in. Holy crap. How are you guys doing? You might have noticed that my camera quality is a lot better than it was before. That's because fortunately, God, last Art Block Friday, one of my friends dropped in. I hadn't talked to him in like a long time. He just decided to drop in and give me $70. So I went from my old I think it was it was a Logi C625, I think, webcam, and now I have the 920S or something. It's like the pro version of the 920. So we have like a more stable webcam and a newer webcam, and I'm just kind of excited about it because, you know, better videos, better quality. We are slowly upgrading the channel thanks to people's like random donations. It feels really cool. Okay, we have a bunch of people who just jumped in. We have Wazzle, we have Adasia, is that how you pronounce your name? Defuk, Pigeon, Ja, Plain Milk, the only sane one here, Yotal Pink, Essa, Nyx, the cosplayer dude, Carlina, that's a pretty name, Dragon Child, Essa saying, I have an exam tomorrow, but I'm watching this instead. Oh no, you should be studying. This happens every Sunday, and plus it'll save and upload to YouTube, so you'll be able to see it at another point. I mean, I can understand wanting to be able to interact and, you know, request something, but at the same time, you know, I don't want you having to, you know, sacrifice an exam for it. How's my audio levels? Is everything good? Is everything, audible, I guess? I use big brain words today. I am a writer. I have written 7 books in lifetime. I still cannot come up with words. Okay. Oh, we're in the wrong one. There we go. What brush color am I? Oh, that's why. It's because I'm using straight up white. Okay, we have a good brush. Gotta stretch out my arm. My arm looks a lot skinnier than it is in real life in this picture. I don't know what it is about this particular shirt, but it makes me look smaller. Night Teller is saying, oh, hi, I didn't know you were streaming. Yes, it's a new thing. Every Sunday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be streaming for like an hour or two, essentially fulfilling live tutorial requests, because I can't make enough tutorial videos. It's just too many. Random Crumbs, what's up? 707, hello! Zoe saying, hi, how are you doing today? I'm doing fantastic. Actually, the reason I stopped a few minutes early, I'm just going to warm up while I chat with you guys. The reason I am like a few minutes late is because I had cold brew right before I decided to come and do this, which is a dumb idea because I know my own personal biology, and I knew that if I have caffeine or coffee of any sort, like clockwork, 1 hour later, I have to run. It makes brown go brown. And so I was like, literally 4 minutes before I'm supposed to start streaming. Oh my god, what did I just do? 4 minutes before I started streaming, I just was like, oh, that is a feeling. I had to run downstairs. And I felt stupid because I knew I shouldn't have had coffee right before the stream. But you know what? I am human and addicted to caffeine, so shit happens. Ha! Literally. That's a really dumb story. Okay. The reason I'm warming up my arm like this, since this is technically art school, I want to be able to teach you guys about why you should warm up your arm. When you warm up your arm, especially with a Wacom tablet where you're drawing directly on the top and it's actually appearing on the screen, it kind of resets your hand-eye coordination, and literally your arm is a muscle, right? Your entire arm is a muscle, your hand is a muscle, I mean, your entire arm is one giant muscle. No, your arm is an entire, you know, musculoskeletal? Skeletor! Sorry. It's a system, and it needs to get the blood and everything pumped through it. Do you guys hear that? Oh, that's new. I wonder what I did to it. Yeah, but that's why I do this, is because it sets my hand-eye coordination, and it also kind of warms up my entire arm. So before I do Art Block Fridays, for instance, you'll always see me warming up in one way or another. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I start with vertical lines, horizontal lines. I did that backwards, no? Yeah, horizontal lines, diagonals in both ways, and then I move on to circles. So this is all just me warming up my arm to make sure that, you know, I have more accurate movement. And I don't move from my wrist. If you look, my entire upper arm is moving when I'm making these circles. It's better to warm up from your shoulder and elbow first, and then you can start doing wrist movements. Oh, that's actually hurting my arm. In a good way, you know, like when you lift weights. How did you guys get in here already? Both of my cats managed to get into the room despite the door being closed. I have ghost cats. Okie dokies. I also had a wonderful lunch. I had some tuna with spinach and cashews. It was delicious. And one more layer. There's one more exercise you want to do. What I just did was warming up the up and down, side to side, circular, and S-curve movements. You can also do C-curve movements. C-curves are extremely important for when you, oh god, what was it called? C-curves are extremely important for when you're drawing movement and when you're drawing basically anything natural in the human anatomy, because there are a lot of C-curves in our body. So the last one you want to do after that, though, is you essentially make two little X's, 1, 2, and you try going from the opposite edge and making a C-curve to hit those X's. This is a direct hand-eye coordination lesson. I just did that completely wrong, that one there. Yeah, but this one here is direct hand-eye coordination warm-up. And you can really just, you can bring them from any direction you want. It really doesn't matter that much, as long as you're practicing it. Okay, I think we've had enough warm-up. Now, the way this is going to work is in the general comment section, people can request tutorials and I will go chronologically. If somebody drops me a super chat, then I'll prioritize that. I will prioritize that particular that particular request, because technically you're buying my time as a professional. So that's how this is going to work. This is still an experiment, putting all these live streams on. So I'm going to go through the comment section right now and see if anybody's requested anything, and it is first come, first serve. If multiple people request a similar thing, I'll kind of merge it together, like, oh, drawing in perspective, oh, drawing people in perspective, you know, stuff like that. I'll merge those together. But at the moment, I just need to see what you guys want to learn for the first day. This will be like an hour or two stream. I don't want to go much past, it's 2:16 right now, I don't want to bring it past 4:16 or 4:30. Okay. Hope the art saved. Okay. Okay, our first ever request on ARTSCHOOL Sunday is by Grumpy Days. They're saying, hey yo, how would you be able to show how to draw action? All my poses seem stiff. Okay, let us draw action then. Give me a bit more description of how you mean your poses are stiff. One thing I'd say, you need to build from the inside out. If you've ever heard of the line of action, okay. Actually, there's a few different requests now. Let's see if I can bundle some of them together. So drawing action. Here, I'll show you what I'm going to bundle together in this first part. Yeah, drawing action and figure study can actually be put into the same lesson. So that's what we're going to be concentrating on first. Okay, I'm going to bring up, well, one thing I want to say is you really do want to use reference. Reference is amazing. We are going to bring up a very special website that I adore going to called lineofaction.com. This is... What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Here, let's pull open a different one. Oh, you know what? It's probably my VPN. Let me change to a different country. Okay, there we go. Line of action drawing tool. There we go. Oh, there's dashes in between it. Okay. Oop, that's a naked person. Let's let's move down. Okay, so what line of action is it'll give you a bunch of really nice poses that you can use. I'm gonna pull it off screen so I don't accidentally get like in trouble for putting a thing. Figure study, there we go. Okay. In case I don't have like a naked person, because I want to show you examples of a person in movement to help you make a less stiff pose. So, of course, only covered models, both male and female. No, we're not going to be drawing teenagers. That's kind of weird. Class mode. You know what? No, it doesn't matter. 60 seconds, 30 seconds. Oh, that's speedy. I remember in an animation class, we had to do 10-second figure studies sometimes. Okay, I'm going to bop it to 10 minutes. Get drawing. Oh, this is a great first example. Ooh, we're in for a treat. Okay, let me shift these around a little bit so you can see. I'm actually going to put this on the left because I know that my face is overlaying on the right a bit. Okay, so let's look at this picture for an example. Now just follow my... Is my mouse visible on screen at all? Okay, it is. Good. Now what you want to notice immediately, I think... Okay, obviously the site we're on is called lineofaction.com. One thing you want to concentrate when drawing action poses is the line of action itself. So here you can see his line of action. He's even with his swords, he's pointing that way. Those are wicked looking swords. I want those swords. He has all of his energy and his balance right between these 2 feet, and he's curving forwards really, really sharply. I'm going to screenshot this and bring it over here for a moment into a new layer. Come here, yeah. Because I want to do some outlining on this figure to show you what you want to be looking for before I actually start drawing the figure and how I would approach it. Okay, so we have this awesome, awesome, awesome figure right over here. Let me bop into a new layer. Let me choose something bright and visible. I like green. Okay, so your line of action over here. One thing you want to do before you start drawing is you really want to find out where your ground plane is and plant your feet. His feet are planted over here and over here, if you could draw like a little box around them, just like that. So make sure to plant your feet. Second, you need to find the line of action. A line of action is his line of movement. You can see it's curving straight like that, coming right to the right. And actually, that might be the line of action visually, but you can actually curve it over his back too. Look at this. It's following just like that. And then you can see secondary ones, like this one is an S curve, like that. And then you have a C curve coming down this way. Now, if I take that picture off, suddenly we have 3 curves that are defining his body's movement almost immediately. And you could literally just put in a foot here, a body, your arms, and your other arm, and then the head. And suddenly you have a figure that has a lot of movement, just from laying down those simple lines. So this is why I want you to start using reference, because reference is extremely useful. Let's jump back into this guy though. Let me get rid of these. Actually, no. Should I get rid of these lines? I'm gonna keep these lines because I think they could be useful for somebody else later. Okay. So let me bop in. Let me grab the layers again. So we have our line of action. There's most of his energy is planted from this foot, right over here. This is where he's stabilizing himself. If he was about to jump off, imagine this. Okay, I know this can sound kind of crazy, but one thing I do sometimes when I have difficulty with a pose is I will literally stand up and get into that pose so I can feel through it. And part of the big thing about feeling through a pose is it kind of helps you understand it. It's the same exact principle of why I warmed up my arm in the morning. Well, in the morning, before I started drawing for you guys. You really want to warm up your bodies. But that's a completely different subject. Never mind. I'm not going to go on my warm up your bodies rant again. You really want to be able to feel what you're drawing. It's not just sitting down and going, oh crap, moving from the wrist. You want to move with your entire body. Another thing, draw from your elbow. You get a lot better curves from your elbow than from your wrist. Like look at the higher extension of movement I'm getting versus this. And then if you add in your shoulder, you essentially have a giant drawing tool from your shoulder down. So you really want to use your entire body, but I'm not going to get into that. Carlina I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, is saying, I used to take a picture of myself for reference. That's an extremely good thing to do. Pictures for reference is a good idea. Okay, so first we had our line of action coming up this way, following along this general line. Another thing you want to look for is something called Cadence of Curve. Cadence of Curve is a little bit more of an advanced concept, but I'm pretty sure you guys can handle it. And we're going to use, this, it's kind of like a fuchsia magenta color. Okay, Cadence of Curve is the concept that whenever you have something coming this way, like if you have a curve going this way, you're never going to have another curve coming at the same end. It's kind of like when you're drawing muscles on a big cartoon guy. Okay, have you ever seen the cartoons with the muscle men, and they're like, here's my bicep, and here's my, and then, this is my arm, that's my fist, I'm so muscular, and have the giant, man titties over here, and everything is just like muscles everywhere. That's the reason those look stiff and unnatural is because the figure is not flowing in the way it should. It's kind of like if you look at this guy, look at how stretched out his muscles are. Right over here, it's all stretched. You're not really seeing anything bunched up. But in here, look at how much stuff is wrapping inwards, up and around. And same thing with this. This is being stretched over his knee, that fabric, but this is all folding inwards. Same idea with movement in general. If you look at the human figure, let me make this guy go invisible for a moment. If you look at the human figure from the side, let's just take the male human figure. Okay, you have the head, you're gonna have the chest, the butt, and the legs, right? So if we focus on the way that the figure flows, though, let's make it a slightly more muscular man, because that's kind of how it translates. It translates a little bit better when you have a bit more muscle. So chest comes out this way as well as the rib cage. And the back curves in this way. And then the back curves out that way, and you get the head and the neck. But I'm not going to concentrate on the head and the neck as much. You get the butt pointing this way, right? And then you get, I think these are the quadriceps, coming out that way. And then your hamstrings aren't quite as large. And then you get the calf coming this way, and then you have your feet, right? Let's draw a stupid curvy line down this. Pushing this way, pushing that way, pushing this way, pushing that way. If you look at the human figure, it's one giant squiggle. And that's what makes it feel natural. It makes it almost feel like a spring that's being wound up. That's how our bodies work. And that's literally basically how muscles work. It's a bunch of strings and bungee cords that are working against each other to keep you up straight and moving in the correct direction. So that's why it feels more natural to have curves that are intersecting each other, kind of like this. So when you draw a figure, you want to keep in mind of those curves. Look, there's one over here in the outlines we done on the guy, and there's another one coming this way. So make sure to follow the curves of the body so you don't have a stiff pose. And this is definitely visible in athletes. If you take snapshots of Olympic athletes, you're going to see these winding, intersecting curves like this all over their body and in all the action they're taking. You really, even in the most subtle poses, you're going to get that. Like, even as I'm going like this, my head decides to point the opposite direction of the way I'm posing my body. It's just opposing curves. They're never intersecting. That's what makes it feel stiff. Okie dokies. Let me bring this guy back, though, because I want to show you how I would approach drawing him. And this actually goes into the figure study for the person who was asking about figure studying. I don't need to get that guy in the background anymore. Let me just bop him up here. Let's Control T. Actually, no, Control Z. Hey. Ba-dum! I'm going to select it. I'm going to bop him up in the corner, and I'll show you how I would kind of go by drawing this particular figure. Hello, Jamal. We have a few other things. Action poses. Okay, so I'm covering a lot of people's questions right now. Figure study, face expression, facial expression's a hard one. Lighting, action poses, yes. Dynamic poses, yes. That's basically what we're going over right now. Grumpy Days has a very good question. Well, if I show expressions of sad or happy, my poses don't seem to go well with it. they're so over-exaggerated, if that makes that makes sense. That just comes with practice and subtlety, and maybe I'll go over it later. Bodies look like a snake. Yeah, kind of. Totally not Amity. Hello. Hoi. Somebody said hoi. Okay. And yeah, somebody's asking, do I do classes every Sunday? Yes, I do. That's the new thing. It's called ARTSCHOOL Sunday. It's going to be part of the live streaming. Select inverse. Let's get rid of this outline. Select inverse, Control T. I'm going to move him back up here. So I'll show you the way I will, let me show you the way I'll approach this. I just have so many layers right now. I'm going to move back to gray, just so it makes sense. Okay, so at the beginning of this, some people are coming in a little bit new here. I'm going to start just by getting in my line of action. That is the number one thing I like doing. So, that is not the pencil tool. Okay, pencil tool. Just like that. In fact, I'm going to arc it up a little bit more. And then remember, you want to plant your feet. One of his feet was over here, and the other one was kind of over here, but we need to mock in the body. Now, we're going to have to find a bit of a better pose when it comes to figure drawing, which I'll go into general figure drawing right after this, because it's been requested enough, which will let me go into figure study drawing. So there's something called the flower sack. It's an animation term. I'm looking at this bunching of muscle over here. That's what's catching my eye a lot. And now you know that his body is curving in sharply over here. So I'm going to mock in that sharp curve immediately. One hip is over here and hip is over here. And one shoulder is over here and one shoulder is over here. So I start first with my line of action, plant the feet, and then I look at where the shoulders and hips are. The shoulders and hips are actually what determine what angle your body is at. Because I don't know if you guys can see me all the way. Like if you look at the shoulders and hips, it's 4 points of your body, and it controls the twist and tilt. So when you think of drawing your figure, think of them kind of like a flour sack. I promise I will make this make more sense in the next part of the drawing. Okay, so this arm coming this way is an extremely strong line, so I'm going to put in the arm right like that. And this one coming up backwards, we can ignore that for now. We have muscles coming down this way. I'm just going to kind of go blip, blip, blip and bunch them together. His foot is really doing some crazy stuff. That boot makes it a little bit hard to discern, but I have the leg coming down like that, and then popping it that way. Now I'm drawing really quickly, and this is genuinely out of practice, because when I was in art school for animation, they had us do this like 6 hours a week for one particular class. So I have a little bit of a, I guess, feel for it. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. I did incorrectly. I know it might look good to you guys on screen, but if you look at him, his knee's coming down this way, and so it looks more like this. And there's some serious bunching going on here because he has so much energy. That's one thing I really like looking at in a picture, is where is the energy? Where is he about to spring up from? And so I'm over-accentuating certain things. Like if you look in here, this angle isn't quite as much, quite as dramatic as it appears on screen, but I want to make it feel more dramatic. I'm also seeing this giant triangle popping up over there, so I'm making sure to leave in that triangle. His head is downward, so I'm not even going to pay attention to that. Other leg coming out like this. There's definitely some stretching happening right there. And then plant it really hard. This is not good for a warm-up drawing. By the way, this happens to even people who've been doing for a long time. You do make crappy drawings in the beginning. Like, you can tell this is not my best work for those of you who actually know how I normally draw. Like, this is a warm-up pose. This is the first one of the day, but I'm trying to communicate things to you. Okay, this is really fascinating. Look, even in his muscle, there's cadence of curve. Check this out. This is so cool. I didn't see it until literally right now, but I want to point it out to you guys because it's literally, okay, look. Look. Wrapping over this way, coming over this way, wrapping over that way. It's everywhere in the human anatomy. You just need to find it. Let's see if we can find more of it. This is coming this way, and this is coming over to meet it. and then this is coming that way. Look at all these curves just wrapping into each other over and over again. There's almost never a curve that goes directly on top of itself. It's so important to remember cadence of curve. It is an advanced technique, but it's so important to remember it. Okay, let's go back out to the normal drawing. Sorry, I just got really excited when I saw that. Okay, back to just the sketch here. Come here, you. So I'm going to mock that in since I had it up here. Got that muscle over there and that muscle. And then his arm is leading downwards like this and his fingers coming out. And I'm just, if you have difficulty with hands, just, I have a hand anatomy tutorial that might help you. Oh. A slithery boy, oh no. Okay, our picture is running. Okay, there's a lot of bunching muscle over there. And so that comes straight, this one comes downwards a bit, and that's coming that way, and then we can just like that. So this has a lot of movement. I would have liked to make this a little bit more, like this obviously has to go higher, for instance, and you got some muscle in here. So that's how I would approach drawing something quickly like this. And after the fact, even though in the drawing it's like up, down, and then knee, I'm going to personally push it like this, because that creates more movement and more stress in the figure. If we just made it go whoop, blit, like that, it wouldn't have the same force. Force is another thing. It's a term I didn't go over in my drawing video. Just like the basic, God, what is it called? I have a tutorial I put out about basic art vocabulary. Force is not one I went over because it's a bit more advanced, but you can see here there is a lot of force running that way, and by putting this line straight on top, you're kind of really emphasizing that movement. So there's force coming there and pushing straight downwards. That is a more advanced thing to talk about. One more thing before we jump onto just a general figure drawing is I want you to take a peek at where the weight of this man is sitting. Weight is another thing. Generally, if you have a person, let me make a quick doodle up here. If you have a general person, just, you know, with you just, oh, I gave it movement. Dang it. I'm sorry. I'm very, very bad at drawing things that are straight. But yeah, if I just draw a general thing right here, like a person just standing straight up, you can see that the weight, the gravity of this person is right below them. It's a straight vector of energy going straight down. If you look at this guy though, where is his weight? It's going to be a little bit hard to see it, but there's a lot in the original picture. A significant portion of his weight is right about here. That's a horrible color to use as an advantage here, as an example here. Most of his weight is sitting right in this area. His body mass is there and it's coming down, but a lot of the force is about to come up across, you know, from that rear foot. So there's so many subtleties that you actually have to pay attention to when figure drawing. At a certain point, you start doing it naturally. But okay, so that was a quick view of how to draw movement in figure drawing. Essentially, let me recap quickly. Let me recap and then move on to the next one, because I really don't want to clog too much of one thing or another. You got to plant your feet, right? Find your line of action, and make sure that your cadence of curve is not interacting in a way that makes it feel stiff. You really want to accentuate the curves. A stiff figure will just kind of be sitting here like this. An open figure will have, you know, those curves all over its body. That's how you draw movement. Okay, next lesson. Somebody was asking about straight up figure drawing. I'm going to go over straight up figure drawing. Let me group these and turn this invisible, and let's see what other figure that line of action came up with. It's a man! Okay, actually, oh, it's the plague doctor lady! I don't know what model this is. I've seen her several times on here. I'm just trying to come up with something. Oh, she's a great model too. I don't need a ninja. Ah, so dramatic. I'm trying to come up with something that, you know, just a regular thing. I said no nude models. I know these models. I know these models aren't nude, but oh, that's such a great pose. I love that pose. If you want to do figure drawing, guys, please go to Line of Action. Oh, they have such great poses. Wow. Okay. Oh, that's such a great action pose. Okay, I just need a normal person. That's a good perspective pose. Just need a normal looking person. Why do they all take their clothes off? That guy was so edgy. He was like, I'm an edgy man with an edgy weapon. Oh, I just need a normal looking pose. Give me something normal. This is all so edgy and cool, but I don't need it. I need something where I can show off the flour sack. Yeah, this is what I'm thinking right now. I'm on LiveStream and I can't find you guys a good picture. And half of them are almost naked. They're almost nude. That is amazing. That is a really, really, really good pose. The problem is that you can't see where his legs are. But actually, I think this is a good pose. We can use this one as an example because you can really... This is a Contrapposo, kind of a Contrapposo pose. He's really, really angling his body. Okay, let's just use this one. I just hurt my back, and it's tweaking out on me. Okay, let me move this over. Let me grab our dude. And let's get down to drawing. Okay, basic figure drawing. Let's do this. So I'm going to do the outliney thing first. Select, deselect, new layer. Okay, so that flour sack thing I was talking about, it's an animator thing. And by the way, there's an extremely good animating book called Animator's Survival Kit. Animator's Survival Kit. You can find it online as a free PDF, and I completely recommend it if you want to learn how to draw movement. But so what I mean about drawing the figure itself. I was talking in the last... This is not a good color for this guy. Okay, that's slightly better. How about just straight up white? Nope. Straight up black? Let's go black. Okay. When I was talking about making sure you can find the points of the shoulders and the hips before, because the shoulders and the hips together form the kind of quad of the body. Now, when I talk about a flour sack, I'm talking about the fact that you get a shape kind of like this that forms the human anatomy, and it kind of looks like a flour sack. So, for instance, if I'm drawing somebody, you know, reaching out this way really dramatically, like, oh no, I just lost my child. You know, you have both shoulders here, and you have their body curving, but their body is going to fold in on itself like this. And you can kind of imagine just turning this into a little flour sack person. And so that's how I usually draw my webtoon extremely quickly, is I'll kind of imagine the body as a flour sack before I put in any of the other actual features, and it just makes it so much faster. Remember those models like you see in the Michael's craft store? It's like you're gonna have the upper body portion, a bisecting ball in the middle, the lower body portion, and then all the different anatomy pieces. That's exactly what you're doing with the flour sack, except just imagine that the center part is all kind of jellyish. So you found your flour sack, and you can see where the curve points are going. The next thing I like doing is a bit of a cheat that I developed for myself because I'm lazy, and it's an easy way to mark out the shoulders. Essentially, you round out the top, and then it's going to go down and then come up again. So you got your flour sack shape, and actually I'm going to accentuate this just by stretching it straight downwards, which looks a lot better now because it's really forcing a certain shape. And then you got your whoop over there. And then afterwards, you can start putting in your legs. Now, the legs, just like what we talked about in the beginning of this, are just all curves. So you're going to have this one coming down, and then a knee box. I just like making a little box for the knee. Technically, it's called the patella, I think, but I just call it a knee box. And then you have one down and the other down. Just remember, legs are all curves. That's all the leg is. It's like, it's two curves. And now we're going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to force that shape out a little bit more to accentuate, come on you, to accentuate that shape. And I'm going to do the same thing, just shoop, straight down, force that shape And yeah, so that's a very quick outline. Now we got some foreshortening here, so I'm just going to ignore that for now, because foreshortening, even for me, is a pain in the tuchus. Got some big muscles here. Okay, so yeah, that's how I would have broken down this guy's shape in my head right before drawing it. And then of course you have the center line running down the body. I like paying attention to the center line. I actually drew that incorrectly. I like paying attention to the center line, just like that, just so you know the orientation and angling of the body. And let's make this layer invisible for a hot second, and let's shrink this guy, and I will do, computer, please function for me today. Give me a second. Photoshop's being a bum. Okay. Control T. Hello? Are you having difficulty today, sir? Is it one of those days that are just bothering your giblets? It is. My computer's giblets are very bothered today. Okay. So, let's jump into a sketching color. And you saw how I broke it down up there. This is just going to be a practical application of how I would break it down. Let's deselect. Let me jump over to the comment section for a hot second. Question mark is asking, I mostly draw animals and have only drawn people like twice. Do you have any advice for learning how to start drawing people? I actually have a how to draw anatomy tutorial that I could recommend for you. It's just on the channel under Tutorial Tuesday. And going to lineofaction.com and literally just sitting down and trying to sketch them from sight. It all comes from sight first. Don't try doing things from your head unless you want a really bad time. Take it from somebody who did it back in high school. Damn, Ghost Vulpix is saying, damn, also your two favorite Pokemon. I really like Mew. And I don't know what the other one I really like is. Mew is my old favorite from when I was a kid. Psych Girl 13 is asking, is it important to warm up before starting a project? Absolutely, it is. Whenever I start drawing cold, is what I call it. If I start drawing cold, I almost always have bad drawings in the beginning. I'd say warm up for maybe 10 minutes before you start an actual dedicated project. Plain Milk is asking how to get better at complex perspective, like observing a person from above. I'm actually, wait until this Tuesday. This Tuesday, I'm doing human perspective on bodies. Friendly Introverts asking, quick question, are you able to still receive submissions for critique? Are you still trying to go through them? I have like 85 of them to go through, so it's going to be a few weeks. All 61 of you better like and subscribe. I hope so. Okay, let's get to drawing. So what we did before, in this situation, this guy has a difficult line of action to kind of point out. His line of intent is going this way. His line of action is kind of like this, even though his energy is going that way. Do you guys see that? Am I being stupid and talking about things that are too advanced so far? Like the curve of his body, there's a curve coming this way, and there's a curve coming this way, right? But his energy is moving to the right. That's what I like calling the line of intent. They're two different things, line of action and line of intent. Most of the time they're going in the same direction, but sometimes they have opposite things, and this guy has an opposite line of intent versus his line of action. I sound like a crazy person. Okay, so in this situation I would start with his flour sack, so I'd go whoop, and then it curves in like this, and this part of the flour sack is curving down really hard. His hips, one is over here, one is over here. Shoulders, one is up here, one is really up here. By the way, when your hips and shoulders are on opposite ends like this, that's an old Italian technique called Contrapposo. And it's nice to remember sometimes, if you're not a nerd like me. And, okay, so you got some folding of the flesh over there, so I'm just going to remember that. That sounds super weird. And you can see, because his arm is coming across, let's mock in the arm over here. Arm is coming across so strongly right here, that it's causing his, that angle is super funky. I did that incorrectly. Anyhow, his arm is coming across like this. I'm just going to draw it as a curve for now, that it's folding over his pectoral. That's another thing. Whenever you can see it like in the stresses of my shirt, Like the folds of my shirt are unstressed right now, but when I curve inwards, suddenly they're wrapping over my body. Same thing happens with your muscles. And if you are chubby like me, same thing happens with the fat. It just kind of folds over in whatever direction it's being pushed in. There's even like a little fold in his armpit over there that you need to pay attention to. And so then we got our elbow, arm coming this way, and his super duper weird way of holding this. This pose is actually kind of difficult now that I'm looking at it. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to move his arm. Look at me. I'm being a bad art teacher. Ha 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 ha. Lincoln would skin me alive for this. Lincoln was one of my old professors. But yeah. E. Just for teaching. Okay. Oh, I'm still in lasso tool. Select, deselect. Let's go back into brush mode. Okay, so then you have this arm coming down. I'm not going to worry too much about the arms in this situation. I just know that they're holding something that's coming that way. Okay, so we have his body pointing that way. His upper body is pointing that way. This guy is twisted, and his head is poking up over there, and I'm going to make it look cartoony. I'm so mad! I'm so mad! I'm going to throw this axe at you! And so we have hips going at one particular angle, but the shoulders going at the other particular angle. That's something I'm paying attention to right now, too. E. Nipple, nipple. Haha, wait, don't demonetize me for that. It's a guy nipple, it's okay. Don't get angry at me, it's a guy. But, okay. And so I'm going to push the legs down like this, put in the little knee box, and hump straight down like that. I did the anime leg thing. He has really long legs compared to his body. The feet are coming towards you in perspective, so honestly I'm going to get lazy and put in a little box like that. Other leg coming out forwards like this. And we can push it down a little bit smoother. Okay, there we go. So that's how I would have addressed this guy's body. It sounds super duper weird. I'm sorry. It's really the art term though. Is like how you address the person's posing and body. So that's how I would have drawn him. You can see I have the cadence of curve going on that leg. It's going on this leg too. Like this is straight, but the two curves are going on the outside. Like eventually once you practice enough, it's just something you're going to do by nature. And the big battle axe, the big axe of battle. And then we can just like put in he's holding this axe so weirdly. I love when models come in for pictures like this and they don't actually know how to wield weapons. I'm not saying I do know how to wield an axe, but I grew up with martial arts and my mom and dad can fight with swords very competently, so at least I have some idea of what I'm doing. Okay, and then we want to mock in the hips over here. Let's give him, I don't know, yeah. But that's how I would have approached a figure drawing. And then you can start doing lighting and stuff. I think somebody in the comments section was asking about lighting. Let me take a look. I need to go all the way up to the beginning. Action. Okay, we just learned how to draw action. Stylize anatomy after you've learned realistic anatomy. What you're talking about is caricature, my friend. Let's see. How do I explain caricature? Okay, this is a very, 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 very stylized anatomy, but let me jump over to a picture I did for Art Block Friday. Okay. This was from last week's Art Block Friday. And everything's pretty light, so let me just use black. Okay. Once you know your general muscles, technically if I were redrawing this, let me quickly redraw this pose just in the upper corner so you can see what I mean. Okay, shoulder would have been over here, other shoulders coming over here. He would have been curved over like this, and his legs would be coming over like that. There'd be a butt muscle coming that way. Muscle over here. He's curving really hard into himself right now. And then his other leg is coming up that way. And actually, it wouldn't have been curved over that much. You got folds in his muscle over here, folds in his belly. Latissimus. His head would have been right over here. Arm, because he has big muscular arms, coming over this way. This other arm's coming this way. Okay, so our original pose should have looked something like this. When it comes to stylizing a muscle, or stylizing anatomy in general, there's so many different ways to do it. Oh my gosh. One thing I like doing is accentuating things that should naturally occur there. I'm going to go through some of the curves that exist in this body. You can see I kind of used a V shape in this situation because originally, if you look at the anatomy here, it is a V shape coming like that. So I just continuously found a single motif, a single shape motif, and I applied it over and over and over again. So we have this curve coming this way, we have another one coming down this way, and then I did it in here too, this folding over and over again. So maybe for stylization, look at your original pose and start trying to look for motifs. This is unfortunately something I'm kind of new at. This is one of the maybe handful of times I've ever done a stylized drawing. And I usually, when I do a stylized drawing, it's usually like I'm wrapping anatomy around. Here's another one that's a very, very good example. Yeah. Like, this is a great example of stylized anatomy, but this is realistic. It's just that I used lines to define the body shape. So something like this is like one step, and then something like this is a completely different step up. And I was trying to describe what was going through my head when I drew this picture. This is a hard question. This is a hard one to teach. Give me a hot second to describe this. Okay. The only thing I can really describe, this might be something I have to think about so I can make a future physical tutorial for it, is that when you have a shape, you take that shape and you accentuate it. Originally, this is supposed to look something like, you know, something more like this. But what I did is I took the basic shapes in there and I began allowing them to curve over each other. It's kind of like playing with geometry, I guess. I'm afraid I can't directly answer that particular question, so let me think on that one. And maybe next Sunday I can come back and actually answer it to you, because that's something that I'm just... If you go and you find like tutorials for caricature, that might explain it better than what I was able to explain right now. Okay. Let's see, what other questions? Wait, where's Wazzle's stuff? Okay, line of action. Somebody just said tree? You want to learn how to draw a tree? Well, we're going by chronological. Okay, Random Crumbs, you asked how to draw shadows. That is a very large, vast, vague question. What kind of shadows? In what situation? What lighting? Yeah, is the light diffused? Is it sharp? Because there's a difference between diffused light and sharp light. I'm just going chronologically. Here, let me show you guys what's going on right here. Because this is right after Wazzle, one of my mods, commented. That's when I said, okay, what do you guys want to learn? And so... line of action was paired with a bunch of other things that I was able to teach at the same time. How to draw shadows is what Random Crumbs is asking. And then Essa wants to learn how to draw a tree. Yeah, how to draw shadows is a very, very, very big question. Let me do a very, very, very quick version of how to draw shadows. And let me box that up, and let's move over to a new layer. Okay, so you're going to have several different types of shadows. I'm going to try turbo moding through this. Okay, several different types of shadows based on your light source. First, okay, if you look at a laser, let's just put laser. I actually spelled that wrong. I think it's an S. Yeah, laser. So imagine you have a little laser pointer. It's going boop, and you have one tiny little dot on the ground, right? That's because in that particular beam of light, all the photons are moving in the exact same direction. The second light source you have is kind of like sunlight. Now, the sun is so absolutely massive, and we are so small as a planet, that sunlight kind of acts like an in-between between laser light and lamplight, in the way that it's generally coming in the same exact direction at all certain points. And so sunlight, you're going to have the shadows that are cast by sun are going to be kind of solid, the slight fuzzy border, but mostly solid. And they're all going to be coming in the same direction, so you can kind of just map out where your shadow is going to fall, just like that. See, I just taught by accident, I'm sorry. Light source coming this way, just kind of draw at the edges of your shape, and then cast that onto the ground, and that's sunlight. The third kind of light you want to pay attention to, because there's a zillion different kinds of light, but I'm trying to go over the 3 basic ones that happen on a regular basis. Third kind of light you want to pay attention to is diffused light, which is like a lamp. So imagine you have a lamp like this. It's almost like the little Pixar lamp, off from the side. Okay, the lamp is casting light like this, and it's going in all different directions. And so if you have a little sphere right up here, like let's just imagine somebody put a bouncy ball there, you need to pay attention to the angle of the light as it's coming down like this. And you're going to notice that the shadow that your tiny little sphere is casting is a lot larger than than it would be if it was just in direct sunlight. And this has to do with light angle too. Like for instance, if you notice during the middle of the day, your shadow in the sun is like just directly below you, but if it's during evening, it's going to stretch out. That's literally just like, okay, imagine you have a person, let's draw a plane here quickly, and let's put a box on our plane, just like this. Quick, dirty box. And so yeah, light source, let's imagine our light source is coming down right here. So just draw the shadow from all of the edges and essentially replicate where the shadow is going to fall on the ground. So that's the shadow under that light source, right? Pretty easy. Now, if it's, say, come on you. Oh, I drew so many more dots than I thought I did. Now let's imagine it's evening time. Sunlight is coming from this direction. Keep up with that and just draw it really far. Take every edge of the box and essentially just re-replicate the box down on the ground. So that means it's going to end over there, and we're going to pull it this way. So that is a quick and dirty way to calculate shadows. What I mean by diffuse, though, I was dropping that word, though, and I did not explain what diffuse means. Diffuse is the edge of your shadows. Because, okay, imagine this piece of sunlight here, right? And let's imagine, is that a coffin that I just drew? Is that a gravestone? Apparently we have a sphere hovering over a gravestone. So, this sphere is casting a particular shadow that is very low opacity for an eraser. Okay, this sphere is casting a very particular shadow at the moment. What you have to remember, though, come on, give me the right brush. Thank you. What you have to remember is that this shadow might be dark, but there's background light coming and bouncing off of different objects and filling the edges of the shadow. And so your shadow edges are never going to be completely sharp unless it's under a laser light. Where's an airbrush? I need to erase with an airbrush right now. I found my airbrush! And that means we need to lower the opacity. So you're gonna see I done did the wrong thing. Eraser. Now we can go to the airbrush. Thank you. And we need to lower the opacity again. So around the edges, you're going to get the most intense shadow in the middle, which is where the highest concentration of darkness is. And then you're going to get a slight amount of light, reflecting from the surrounding area and kind of filling the shadow a little bit. Same thing's going to happen with your lamp light. And this is what I mean by diffused, I guess. Just jump in here for a moment. I actually do need this. Sunlight has decently sharp shadows. Something like a lamp will be casting pretty soft-edged shadows, simply because of the way the light is not going in one direction. It's kind of coming out in multiple directions. That's what light bulbs do. They cast in all different directions, which means that their shadows do not have consistent edges. And again, though, it doesn't matter. It matters on the type of light. There's so many different things when it comes to actually making a shadow. The second big thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to shadows is the fact that they are not black. Never shade with black unless you are in outer space. Let me show you an example of this. Space station. Okay. photograph. Actually, no, moon photograph. Astronaut on moon photo. Okay. So the moon barely has an atmosphere. And this is important. I think that doesn't look like an actual photograph. Give me a real photograph. Okay, this looks like a real photograph. If you notice, when you go outside on Earth, look at the color of the shadows outside. They are not gray. They're slightly bluish. When this okay. If it's a cloudy day, they're going to be grayish, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But if you have a nice big blue sky outside, you'll notice that the shadow colors are tinted with blue. That's because the sky's not dark. There's not a dearth of light in the sky. It's actually pretty God, what is it called? It's glowing. If you block out the sun with your hand, you'll notice that the sky doesn't suddenly go dark too. It's literally absorbing and refracting the sunlight down to you, except it's been turned blue thanks to atmospheric properties. If you look at this photograph of the moon, you'll notice that the shadows here are completely black, very gray. That's because the moon has no atmosphere. That means that the shadow color is not being filled in by the color of the atmosphere. But if you go to Earth, it is. So big, okay, we still have this guy here. Big tip for when you are drawing basically anything. Let's see if I have an example of this. Can I use this as an example? I don't think I can use that picture as an example. What about this one? Oh, wait, here's a good example. Okay, I did this for an Art Block Friday. These mountains I drew, you can see that the shadow color of the snow is picking up on the atmospheric light. Whenever you shade something, do not shade it with completely gray. Take a kind of in-between tint between the gray and whatever your atmosphere color is. Remember to put those reflected lights into your shadows. So yeah, shadows. Let me look at the other questions that we have here. You can also say I put it in the grass too. See? The grass has that kind of bluish tinge to it. That's because of the atmosphere color reflecting and incorporating itself into the rest of the colors everywhere else. So you have your main light source and you have your reflective light source. Okay, let's look at other things. Shadows, tree. I really don't know how to address drawing a tree. I'm not very good at trees myself. That is a weak part of my, God. Drawing trees is a weak part of my drawing ability. How do you draw a tree? Does anybody in the comments know how to draw a tree? I guess when you draw a tree, you have to remember it has a root system. This is going to be super boring. Let me make this quick. Okay. Nature fractalizes. It kind of branches off in doubles a lot of the time. So when I draw a tree personally, oh, this is super duper light. When I draw a tree, I start with a trunk, right? And then I like varying the lines in certain places to make it seem a bit more natural. And then it's going to have a break, 2, maybe 3. I like doing 3 breaks. And then you're going to get, the trees grow upwards. Trees and things in general that rely on light as their, main source, grow upwards towards the light. So you're not often going to have something growing downwards. So generally it's going to be upwards growth. And it's going to split, and as it splits, it gets, thinner and thinner and thinner. And it'll have some wandering areas. Maybe you can add another small one coming up here. And then the roots do the exact same thing. They split. I'm trying to make this quick because I know this is a little bit of an offhanded question when it comes to the actual tutorial. And then eventually they go underground, so you're only going to see a few big thick roots on top. And you have your branches continually splitting open. Yeah, this is not one of my strong suits. I'm not very good at drawing nature. Control T, move it down, enter. And same thing, okay, when you draw the upper part of the tree, you have to think of it as volume. Like, there are too many leaves just to draw individually, so what I do is I think of it as almost a 3D object. So there, we have the top of the tree, right? And we can add little extra parts later, but essentially you're just drawing a giant sphere of sorts. You can add little, you know, extraneous bits here and there. But so if this is the bulk of the tree that you're drawing, it's going to have, you know, parts on the underside where the light is being hidden by the parts on the top. And then you're going to have your highlights on top. That is like the most simple way I can say to think of a tree. I'm really not that good at drawing that. Like, if you see them in my webtoon, they look freaking sophomoric. Okay. I need to shut off that layer. Nope, not lock. Make it go invisible. Let me look at more comments. Let's see what else we have here. Facial expressions, that's a very complicated one. That's also what I'm making a tutorial on pretty soon. Dynamic poses. Okay, do you guys want to do facial expressions? Oh my god, I did not catch up with these. There's a lot. There's a lot of questions. Who threw a super ball at Grandpa's grave? That's a funny comment. Okay, Kirishima, you're asking about a hands tutorial? I actually go to my tutorials tab. I have a hands tutorial already. Like it's something that exists. It's apparently a good one. Okay, since I'm going chronologically, somebody asked about facial expressions, so we are going to do facial expressions. I almost drew the eraser. Facial expressions is kind of another one where it's just like, wow, there are so many of them. How am I going to approach this? Let's see. When it comes to facial expressions, the angle of your face also really, really matters. It's not only the straight up expression, it's also what position you're drawing it from. So I'm just gonna mock this. Okay, first I want to talk about facial angles. Actually, that's more important than the actual expression on the face. So imagine that your eye is the camera. This is animator storyboarding stuff, but frankly, if you want to learn how to draw personality and character, you're going to want to think like an animator and a storyboarder. So your eye is the camera whenever you draw somebody, and the way you draw somebody is also the camera you're setting up for your viewer. Now, if you, this is a way sideline way to teach expressions, but we're going to do it. Let's imagine that this is just the side of the room, right? If your camera is up here looking down on a person, this is a person, definitely not a martini glass. If you are looking down on a person, you have visual power over them. In the same way, if you are a small person looking up at a big person, look at those crazy arms. This guy he's dancing. What is this? It's a torch. You are a gremlin. You are terrified. You did not think that they would find you. Okay, he's mad. You stole his cupcakes. That's obviously a fist. Okay, so now he's looking down on you and he has power on you. So when you draw a facial expression, what angle you're looking at that expression at really matters. For instance, let's draw like somebody who's sad, and I'm going to, and also if somebody's looking at you directly in the face, extremely symmetrically, usually that's like evolutionarily, usually that's a position where they're going to attack you from. Like if somebody's coming at you straight like this, you know, especially with lowered eyes looking at you from underneath their brows, that is a very aggressive. But if somebody's casually looking at you from the side, not aiming their body towards you, oh, that's an Amazon truck. Why do Amazon trucks sound like aggressive ducks when they back up? I don't understand it. But yeah, if somebody's just, you know, casually cocking their head to the side and, you know, not physically facing you, their body position is off to the side, it's a lot more casual. Same thing goes with expressions. Let's make this person sad. So this is where their eyes would be, their nose would be coming out over here. Stupid Amazon truck. Okay. And when somebody's sad, you want to kind of tilt their eyebrows up, and their eye expression will be going downwards. So immediately, just by putting the person's, you know, facial expression down, tilted away from you, they feel a lot more sad. Because let's draw that same facial expression if they're on eye level with you, instead of us being, you know, looking down on top of them. I forgot their ear. And their hair dramatically moving around their head. This person's sad. This person's so sad. You can even like kind of like, you know, wrap the arms around. Like this person's obviously had a bad day. But so if we're going to be doing this from straight on, it's funny. I'm really good at drawing faces from angles, but I struggle drawing faces from straight on. It's just not something I practiced very often. In fact, even when I was a kid, I wouldn't draw faces from the front. It just confuses me. Okay. So drawing the same exact expression from straight on, you're going to see how weird it feels to just draw it from the front. See, you lose so much power. Like, sure, it's a sad person. This person's obviously not having a good day. But this has so much more emotional impact than this. Like, so much more. So a big tip for drawing expressions, make sure that your camera position is correct for them. Ghost of Olpix is just going quack! Okay, same thing goes with anger. Let's draw an angry person now. I'm just using these particular examples. There's like our eyeless dude up here. He can become a new SP. He can be an SCP or something. Okay, so same thing. We're going to talk about. So we did sad over there, and I'm going to do the exact same demo but with anger. So an angry person. If they're angry, you want to put them in a position of power. You can actually technically, like, you can make them seem really feeble by being like an angry little guy just looking up at you like, I'm so angry, like that. Technically, you can do that for storytelling purposes. But let's imagine that this person is legitimately angry and you want to put them into a position of power. Although we did that with the government and it didn't go too well. And, sorry, I can't get political on this channel. So, angry person. Now we're going to take their face, you know, maybe chin is over here. Drawing faces from this angle is really hard for me. No, nose, nostrils, angry expression looking at you all the way from above. And I don't know how to draw a face from an upper angle. I struggle with it. Big chest muscles and, you know, I don't know, shoulder coming down. You got the arms coming this way. So, yeet, 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 yeet. This is not as good as the one I just did. Same idea, though. Suddenly, with them, you know, looking at you from that angle, you know, coming down like this, you feel smaller. It's automatically, the camera position is putting you into a position where you don't feel like you have enough power because you're looking up at them. Same exact thing. Let's take that face. Okay. Let's take that face Same exact guy. Girl, I don't know. Who knows who this is. Anger. Looking right at you, just like this. That's not right at you. That looks super duper weird. E. I'm so angry. I don't know what you've done, but I'm extremely angry at you. So looking at you straight on, suddenly you've taken the power away from them when you put the camera angle straight on. It's still aggressive, but it doesn't have the intimidation that putting the camera angle upwards does. Okay. Now, just general expression-wise, I mean, I could just run through expressions. It seems kind of boring. Tell me in the comments, do you just want me to run through a few tricks for expressions? Like a few common, you know, common things? I'll give you guys a hot second so I can take a drinking break and find out why that dog outside is going so hysterical. You guys hear that too, the chorus of Canine out there, right? Okay, looks like we have a bunch of yeses. Coolio. So remember that the facial expression itself is, will you guys shut up? Okay, the facial expression itself is just a facial expression. If you take away the body positioning, if you take away the camera angle, you're reducing its power by at least 60 or 70%. But it doesn't mean that it's not important. What is going on out there? I can't leave this little dark box of recording, so I'm just trying to imagine. Is somebody getting robbed? Okay, let me draw this face so I can just do a bunch of examples. I want to take away the mouth. Ha! I made a magi! I made a blind magi by accident. Coolio. Just take away this for a moment. Okay, so this is going to be the base. Let me select it and duplicate it a few times. Oh, and I can hear the, what is it called? The Amazon truck came to join the party. Okay, I only learned this recently. I can hold Alt and literally just duplicate them super fast just by holding Alt. I never knew this before, by the way. Who's messaging me? Oh my god, why does I haven't talked to this girl in so long. She's like from high school. She just messaged me asking if I could please make her a banner for art. We're friends. So, you know, like, we're friends. I haven't talked to you in a million years, lady. Okay, we got a bunch of faces. It's an army of faces. Okay, so I'm gonna type them down just so you know what they are. And God, I can't do these without doing facial angles. The angles of the face are so important. Okay, let's just go normal, bored, anger, sad, fright, surprise, and then you can kind of combine them. So I'll use the last ones to, go ahead. Alex is asking, I assume she wants it for free too. Well, I didn't see her saying that she wanted to pay. Okay, so we're going to use our neutral facial expression. So just, you know, just an average facial expression. Not smiling, not really doing anything. Just kind of bored, just like, yes, I exist as a human person on this planet. When I do boredom, if you notice when people are bored, they'll kind of like cock their head to the side sometimes, or maybe angle their head upwards. I can't really draw these without explaining like the positioning of the face. So I guess I'll talk about the positioning of the face as I draw it. But you know, one way I kind of like drawing, you kind of, your mouth, it gets kind of like that. I'm just trying to, this is the way I draw, is I put myself in the position of the character and just go like, maybe a little bit of a cheek thing. And you're usually going to start looking off from one side or the other because, you know, you're not paying attention to what's directly in front of you. I'm kind of going mildly cartoony with these since there's lots of them to go through. But this is kind of how I would approach boredom. Maybe you could arch the eyebrow. Like, there's so many different eyebrow positions with boredom. Like, you could go kind of like that kind of boredom. Just that's more of a frustrated boredom. If you put these little brow lines, it's almost like you're making somebody frown. So maybe just like, ugh. That looks pretty bored. Okay, anger. Anger is pretty obvious. Rosebuds, you got to go horseback riding. I'm jealous. Octography. I know what you're talking about. Anger. Anger is pretty obvious. Your eyebrows are going to be arching, so you're essentially creating a V on your head in some form or another. I'm kind of doing the DreamWorks eyebrows here. And, you know, mouth is going to be, you know, I wouldn't say go like this for anger. That's actually a pretty, I think that's a bit too of a classical shape. Like, that's like, this face over here is the classical anger shape. It kind of gets it. But our face doesn't actually do that when we're angry. I'm going to look at my camera and try making an angry face. Yeah, it's not a direct under smiley. You can make it feel a little bit more genuine by kind of popping the edges up a little bit, like that. That seems more frustrating. That looks like my grandpa. There we go. I'm going to actually take this eyebrow and lower it a little bit. And also pupil size. Pupil size is also extremely important with anger. And they're going to be looking upwards a little bit. When you're angry, your pupils usually get really small. And when you're just like neutral, your pupils will be like, normal sized. That's actually pretty big. But yeah, that's one of the reasons that when you see like pretty girls being drawn, or like when you see a baby or a puppy being drawn, their pupils will be huge because large pupils is more of a safe thing. And when you see people with tiny little pupils in art, that's usually they're seen as more aggressive. So you kind of have to remember that kind of stuff. This is not an accurate anger drawing. I don't know what I was trying to draw here. I think I'm trying too hard to make one thing or another. It's hard to make somebody angry who's like a... It's really difficult to make somebody angry when they're straight on, because usually I would have taken this face right over here and I would have like drawn them from underneath like this instead of this weird like straight on facial expression. Like, oh, look how pissed off I am. Like, that feels a lot more aggressive than that does. Okay, what about sad? We talked about sad already. You generally like, tilt your eyebrows upwards a little bit. You're going to have, the mouth won't be, if you look at anger, the mouth is really wide. But for sadness, I kind of, you know, kind of less expressive. Like, the mouth is a little bit smaller whenever I draw it. And you can kind of downcast your, you know, your eyes. And usually they're going to be looking down at the ground. Right? You guys are trying to make weird expressions in my side? If you want a good anger reference, look at Dragon Ball Z. Octography is saying, yeah, wasn't there a period in Regency England where eyes were painted almost cartoonishly huge to denote affection? I think so. Fright, you want to arch those eyebrows upwards. And this is a very accentuated version of them. You're going to have very wide eyes, and then, maybe open the mouth a bit like, physically. Small pupils, because you're getting scared. But surprise is kind of like fright, but you're not going to have these upwards arches like this. Excuse me. It's just going to be like, whoa, that's new. And what was the last two? The last two is when we were crossing them over. So maybe if we crossed boredom with anger. I love that kind of expression. Let's cross boredom with anger. I don't know what I did with those eyes. And what if we did, I don't know, sad and surprised? Another giant tip I have for expressions are just literally act out the expression in your head as you draw them. Like, a lot of it is basically eyebrows. Not that I'm looking at it. A lot of it is eyebrow position, eye angle, like where the eyes are looking. And if they're downcast like this, or if they're upwards like this. Excitement, that's another one that we forgot. With excitement, if you smile or if you notice your own facial expressions, the bottom of your eyes automatically kind of go whoop, like that. So a genuine expression would be for the bottom of the, the bottoms down here to kind of be perked upwards. If you look at straight up cartoons, you can learn about expression just from looking at cartoons. Like, you don't have to look at real people's faces. What time do we have? We have 3:29. God, you have so many people are commenting so many different things. Now, again, it's kind of weird drawing these expressions straight up. There's so much more power. I'm going to open my webtoon just to show you what I mean. There's so much more power in drawing expression if you include angle, and it's all about angle. Okay, I'm gonna go on an art rant. You need to have the angles. You have to have, the positioning of the body. If somebody's sad, they're gonna kind of curve in more like this. Like, look at my body position right now. I'm kind of closed in, and I look sad. But if I'm excited, suddenly I open myself up, and I'm just all over the place. And if I'm angry, I will grip down, and suddenly my head lowers if I'm angry. You need to pay attention to those things. Expression is not just on the face. It is all over the place. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited. I get to teach. This is one of my favorite things. I'm very good at drawing expression, so I'm just like when I'm not restricted to just drawing straight up faces. But stop it. I love being able to draw expression. So, okay, let's go to the webtoon. There's a bunch of different stuff. Let's look at cut images. Let's see if we can find anything. I didn't mean to open it. What are you doing to me? Okay, let's go into my files. You guys get to see my files. Actually, maybe you don't. Hit. Okay. PIRANTINA, webtoon, book 1, chapter 1, cut images. Let's see if there's anything good in here. Okay, this is a good exhaustion expression. Like, you can tell she's focused and not exactly bad, like not exactly upset, but she has that kind of tired look in her eyes, and you have the slight up peak of the eyebrow on the edge. But I'm actually looking for specific other ones. Okay, this down shot. You both have this this is a very longing look. Okay, look at the way her eyebrows are positioned upwards. Eyes are big, looking upwards, wide pupils, and then you're looking straight down on her though, so she is at an extremely non-powerful position right now. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Quick mic. Okay, in this one right over here, worried expression. She's looking over, this pure blood dragon is looking over. And then immediately in the next one, she lowers her head. You can see she's now below quick mic in this picture. So the positioning of somebody really really is important. In this one right here, you can see that there's the arched eyebrow and the upset mouth shape, right? But he is below this guy, and this guy's cocky. Look at all the arcs I'm using. He's just like, yes, I am me, and I'm going to win this race. His head is perked upwards. And even that kind of relaxed eye, like you can tell he really doesn't care, and he thinks he's superior about himself. And you can see his eye is relaxed. It's not open and aggressive. He's pretentious. I guess that's a good way. Look at all the arcs I used, all the upwards arcs. And then Quickmake is down, kind of going, ugh, annoyed at him from the other side. Got some mischief going here. Crack, zoom. This isn't very, that isn't very good for storyboarding. There is stuff with fear in here. There is actually a really good shot in, I think, chapter 3? Where's the shot with the box? There is no box. Okay. Ah, that's not the right one. Okay. Okay, look at this. Look at this picture. You can tell she's nervous. Look how closed her body is. She's just like, da, 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 da. Yeah, if you close in your body like this, it's a more nervous, more defensive position than if you're open with the broad shoulders. E. Oh yeah, look at that. Still defensive, still grumpy, irritated, looking off to the side. It's the... No! I ruined the shot. We have to look at the big pictures. Where's the big picture? Where is it? I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay. We immediately lose power here. Because look how the shoulder... This shot is over her shoulder. Just like that. And you made her feel small. She's looking up at something. She's shocked. So those camera positions matter more than your facial expressions. Straight on. If you have a straight on parallel shot like this, it makes it physically uncomfortable for the viewer because you're being addressed directly. It's a very confrontational camera shot. So that's why this works the way it does. And, okay, there is one particular shot, because I showed you how to give power. I did not show you how to... Okay, this shot with the Notar's Dragon, again, it makes you feel like, ah, crap, because it's coming directly at you, right? And you're seeing it kind of on level, which really makes you feel like you're in that particular shot. I went from teaching expressions to teaching storyboarding. Bear with me. Is chapter 5 where this dude pops up? I'm just trying to find one particular image. Bam. Okay. Yeah, here we go. This guy has a lot of power. He's grumpy, he's strong, and you're looking up, straight up at him, which gives him an immense amount of power. Is there anything else in that particular chapter? I don't want to, for anybody who hasn't read the webtoon yet, I do not want to ruin it. What did I just do? I clicked something. Yeah. But all of those things are extremely important for expression, more than the actual expression itself. So please study some films. And you'll see how, especially like animated films, How to Train Your Dragon is one of the best possible films you can ever study when it comes to, looking at shots themselves. You guys are just filling it with... What are all these expressions in here? When you can't think of a name says, I drew a determined face up front close up. Do you think that works in a way? I think it works fine. That should work. Oh, okay. We have, it's been about an hour and a quarter. I will do one more lesson for today. Let's look at the next person in. So we did the trees. We did action. I tried going over stylizing anatomy. Figure study, face expression. Lighting on people is you know what? Actually, Carlina, I actually do have a tutorial for lighting people. You have to go to my tutorial Tuesday, and it should be bulk lighting for movement, I think. Haha, it shows me that I'm live. Okay, so you want to go to playlists and... it's not Art Block Friday. Where's Tutorial Tuesday? There it is. Nope, nope. You better darn pause. You better pause. Okay. It is called Fast Shading for Gestures. That should be a good start off point for shading humans. There's also Object Grid Mapping Shading. That's also a very good place to start for shading people. Okay, what's the next person? Action poses, dynamic poses. We really kind of went over all of that. I just explained that. Okay, we're good on that one. How to draw shirt with skirt in one, like the change in curves or the skirt part. I am not quite sure what you mean by that. I'm sorry. It's a lot of expressions. Sleepy Whitney's asking, Miranda-sama, can I draw you? If you want to. I'm not going to stop you. Random Crumbs is asking how to draw in different styles. Experimentation. Okay, somebody did ask about clothing. I want to quickly go over clothing because clothing can be a little bit difficult. Okay, one great thing to do, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over again, if you want to learn how to draw clothing, try getting dressed up in the closest thing you have and taking reference. They were asking about a skirt. Come here, you. Function for me, baby. Okay. So clothing. I'm going to work with a shirt first, because I draw lots of shirts. Imagine you just have a person sitting over here, kind of at a sideways angle, and their butt's over here. They're literally just in a chair. So you have a human person sitting in a chair. And let's work on the, let's imagine that there's a table right over here. So if their arms resting on the table, maybe grabbing something. So the shirt, the way it would lay over, fabric folds and moves with your body. You can actually see it in my shirt right here, right now. And let me pop open this to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, if you look at my shirt itself, when I'm in a relaxed position, there isn't much strain. But if I lift my arm up, look at everything that's happening in here. It's wrapping and pulling and tugging in a very certain direction. The best way of calculating this is by literally looking at, looking at your own body. So for instance, what I just did there, that's this person's arm position. So you're going to have some folds wrapping this way. Oh, wait a moment. I'm just jumping right ahead. Let me teach you how to fold fabric. Okay. So when you fold fabric, imagine you have a person's arm like this. Normally, if the arm were straight down like this, Photoshop, what'd you do that for? Then, the shirt would be sitting like that. There wouldn't be really any major folds, right? I see a lot of people fold fabric like this, in straight marks. That's not how it works. Whenever you fold fabric, it's going to be bunching up at a high, the point of highest pressure, the highest angle, and it's going to be coming outwards in almost like a star pattern, like that. So you have all these folds happening here. But what happens to the material? Because obviously the material can't just crunch in on itself like that. What happens is the material gets driven upwards and then folds. And so it'll get driven upward again and then fold, and then driven upward and fold again. So it's kind of what's happening here, and it's why I immediately started drawing the folds like that, is because this arm is pulling the folds forward, so the material has to bunch up like that, and you're going to get the folds laying in kind of a way like that. Same thing happens, it's not too bad over here, maybe it'll bunch up a tiny bit, but not much. And then the fabric will fall, so it's going to be laying against the skin on top, right? And then gravity will pull it on the bottom, and then maybe it'll be folding against there. And remember to curve it over in perspective. Same thing over here, you're going to get some folding, and then everything else will be normal, and make sure to put the folds in there. And now everything seems to be curving inwards like that. So that means that the fabric is also bunching up in this direction. And then you can add like the, you know, the neck area. Now what about down here? Imagine this is a slightly looser shirt. It's going to come out like this, fall awkwardly, and then let's say it's being tucked into a belt. So the belt is over here. It's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to fall out and then, oh crap, I'm being pulled inwards towards something. So that's why I have this curve here. It's falling naturally and then, starting to fold up, and then it falls inwards. And then you're going to have those same curve lines, and then it'll move back towards where it was supposed to go before. And then it kind of goes like whoop downwards. And then if you want, you can add the stitch marks to make it more clear of where it's being opened and closed. And now the pants will do the exact same thing. If the knee were stretched out regularly like this, then you wouldn't really have anything happening over here because, you know, the fabric gets to follow a straight path. But that's not what's happening right now. The knee is folding this fabric in this way, and you can kind of see, sometimes people will add a shape that looks kind of like this, or kind of like this. If you want to study fabric, literally just drape your tablecloth and look at the way it folds. This is like quick, more cartoony folding. And again, it's going to be wrapping up in that direction. And then there's going to be some folding over here near the hip. Let me redraw that, it's not quite correct. Yeah, like that. And then a little bit of a bunching here because, you know, he's sitting and it's being forced upwards, and this is being forced downwards by the belt. And come out, and yeah, then you get the folds coming in over here. And then maybe it will fold down by the feet. Exact same idea though. Exact same idea that we had before. It's getting caught, it's starting to bunch up over the shoe. Just put a weird shoe right there. And then it's coming, lagging, it's kind of like sagging a little bit here because there's nothing structurally to hold it. And so you're going to get it folding outwards and then coming really, really hard off the knee. And that's kind of where that sag comes from. And then you can draw it tightly across the other arm. So yeah, whenever you think of fabric, just remember that the places where it folds are going to get very, very, very bunched up like that. Like if this is an arm, for instance. Just make sure to bunch it in like that and follow the curves of whatever thing it's on. That was a very bad demo right over there. I'm like, I'm just drawing a bunch of, it looks like a dandelion. There are also advanced shapes. Like if you're drawing a more flowy kind of fabric, there's like these really advanced shapes that will happen. It'll like tilt and mold, and lots of the shapes are triangles. So say it's like a piece of fabric got shoved down over and it's kind of being swooshed everywhere. What I usually do, see those immediate shapes I did? They'll lay over each other in kind of like a braid form or a triangle form. And then you can start figuring out the different shapes in there, but most of the time you're going to find a crap ton of triangles. It'll come over here and fold that way, and you're going to get a harsh shadow down there, a filling shadow. You're going to get a harsh shadow in here. And just try to remember the movement of the fabric itself. Big foldy fabric is hard to draw, even for me. I haven't actively practiced it because I usually draw armor and like tunics and stuff. It's a gap in my skill set. Which is hilarious because I used to study Da Vinci. If you want to know how to draw fabric, there are some really good tutorials out there for it. But most of the time I'd say look for your triangles and make sure you're just imagining and following like the angles of how the fabric falls in your head. Okie dokes, what time do we have? We have 3:47. Ah, I didn't mean to full screen that. Okie dokies. I think clothing's pretty good to leave you on. I'm going to show you. That's something to open up to. That's a morph suit, by the way. That's not a nude person. That looks very, very interesting. Okay, Da Vinci. If you search Da Vinci cloth studies, you're going to find his stuff. And I highly recommend looking at Da Vinci's cloth studies. The man was crazy. He just sat down for years and years of his life to study how cloth moved. But you can kind of see those folds I was talking about, but he like went AWOL in finding them and studying them. I have done a study of this particular one. See, look, there are those triangles I was talking about. It falls in triangles, and I don't know why. God, his stuff was beautiful. That's not Da Vinci. This is Jessica Russo Scher. I don't even know who that person is. Wow. Yeah, no. Da Vinci was one of those masters at drawing cloth. I want to get to this point. I'd probably have to put in about a month of constant study to get to this point, maybe 2 or 3 months. And then I wouldn't be able to do it from my head anyhow, so I'd have to just continually look at my references. How could you possibly do something like this from your head? I do not understand. I mean, that's why they were called the Masters of Art. Actually, these were studies he did while looking at things, so I don't have to feel too bad about being incompetent with cloth. Okay. I think for now, this is going to be the end of this particular first one. My voice is going, and I'm tired, and I need to go eat. Oosh. Okay, this is going to be a consistent thing every single week. So next Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be here doing this again. Next video comes out on Tuesday. It's Tutorial Tuesday. It's going to be on drawing bodies in perspective, which lots of people have requested. Excuse me. And oh god, what else? Yeah. Just, the channel schedule is down in the description if you guys want to see what's going on. Let me make this bigger. Yeah, the channel schedule is down in the description if you guys want to see what's going on. And I don't really have a schedule for when particular tutorials come out at the moment because I kind of lost track of them. So I just know what's going to be happening for next week. So yeah, Tutorial Tuesday, I do critiques on Wednesdays, and then, God, what else? Art Talk Thursday, Art Block Friday, which is just sitting and drawing and doodling together, not actual teaching, and then on Sunday, that's the only day I really do gaming, because I want to have some fun, and then Sunday like this, we have an hour or two of just learning and actively interacting with you guys. So thank you guys for being the first time I've ever done this. It was really nice being able to just talk to you directly. And I hope I was able to help you. I need to come up with a system to make sure that there are specific requests, because the chronological requests kind of worked, but there were so many of them that maybe if somebody says something already, like if somebody requests something, then people can just like not upvote it, but say, oh yeah, whatever blank person said. So, okay. As per usual, drink your water. I need to do that more often for myself. Get your sleep. Believe in yourself and follow your dreams. And by the way, when it comes to art, it's 80% practice and only 20% talent. So even if you don't feel like you're good, just keep practicing and you'll get there. And I will talk to you guys on Tuesday. Oh, where's the exit? Exit camera. Okay, bye-bye.